This is what we're going to make today. It's a plant pot. It's got a hole in the bottom for the drainage, and on the front, done a rainbow. Should be able to plant the sunflower seeds in here for the cricket club, and also remind us of the NHS with the rainbow. Though you can decorate it any way you like. To make a flower pot for the sunflower seeds, you will need a board, a wooden one's best, a rolling pin, again I prefer wooden ones because they're less likely to, the clay is less likely to stick, a knife to cut the clay, a bottle covered in newspaper, both on the base and the sides. We're going to wrap the clay around this, some cocktail sticks, I'll show you what they're for later, a pot of slip. Slip is small pieces of clay mixed with water, and a brush. And possibly for decoration, you might like some cutters, or you can have different forms of decoration as well. The first thing we do is we wedge the clay. You sort of push it and fold it, push it and fold it. This gets rid of the air bubbles and makes sure that the clay is the same all the way through, not overly wet on the surface and dry on the inside, or vice versa. So we're just going to wedge it for a little bit. Now roll the clay out, trying to make sure it's the same thickness in all the different areas. You don't want it overly thick on this side and thin on this side. Just use the bottle to measure that you've got enough. Yes, I have. The next thing you need to do is cut a straight edge here, and on the end here. Keep the clay because we'll be using that later. It's best to keep it under a damp cloth or in a plastic bag. Just measuring it to make sure it fits, and it does. I'm going to have a straight edge on this side. Now we're going to wrap the clay around the bottle. And there should be a little bit of an overlap at the end, making sure it's close to the bottom. Just a little bit of an overlap there. If there's too much, you can trim it. This is when the cocktail sticks comes in. I'm going to make lots of grooves along here so it sticks together, and on the other side as well. And roll it up. On the join, I'm going to put some slip. This acts like glue, bonding it together. And there we are. Just works sometimes if you just press on that side a bit. There we are. So now we've got the basic shape. Now roll out some of the rest of the clay. We're going to use this to make the base. Pop this on top. Use your cocktail stick and mark all the way around. Take it off. Use the cocktail stick to make some marks on the base and cut the circle out. Now attach the cylinder to the base. I'm just going to cut round the edge to make sure my rim is even. Using the knife, try and keep it even all the way around. Now I've trimmed the edge, but to make it stronger, I'm going to cut out a rim to put in it. First of all, roll out some clay nice and thin. And then I've got a piece of wood here, but you could use a ruler. And I'm just going to cut one side of it and the other side. Again, this is the clay which is left over. We can use this for decorating. We're going to attach this to the rim here. The first thing we have to do is use the cocktail stick again, making some marks around the rim. Now I've made some marks at the top of the rim, and I've made it on the strengthening piece of clay. I'm going to apply some slip now. It's always important to apply slip before you put things in the kiln. If you just put two pieces of clay together, when they're in the kiln they'll dry and they'll separate. But if you've made some grooves in it and some slip, they should stay firm. Now tidy up the join using a sponge, not too damp, but just smooth it around the edges, and that should smooth it all over. So you just, if there's any pieces sticking out, you smooth them down and around the base of it as well. Now we're going to have to leave this to dry for a bit. I think it's best to leave it to dry upside down, and then what it'll do, it'll come to what they call leather hard, which is where it's easier to handle, and we'll put some decorations on it while it's drying. Put that to the side. The bottle was a bit wobbly, so I've balanced it in this mug to let it dry a bit. I'm just going to put it to the side. Now for my decoration, I'm going to make a rainbow. I've made these coils by rolling them out the same length, like this. Then I've cut them. When you've got 5 or 6 coils, I'll show you what next to do. Now I've got all my coils. They're all 15 centimetres, the same length as this ruler. Put some slip in between them. I found if I made grooves on them, they all lost their shape. So just very carefully stick them together as firmly as you can without losing the shape. There you are, press it down. Then turn it over, and that's probably the better side to have on the front. So make it into the shape of a rainbow. Remember the other side is the side we're going to have on the outside. Cut the edges with a knife or with a cocktail stick, and there we have our nice rainbow. Now to make the clouds, again we make a coil shape or a long sausage shape. Trying to make it even. Start in the middle and then roll it up. You end up with sort of a snail shell, a lovely coil. Then I've got 4 others here. I'm going to stick it together and make it into a cloud. Now to make the sun, I've made a little round sphere, a little ball. Press it down so it's flattened, and that's going to be the centre of our sun. To make the sun's rays, I've rolled out another coil, and again I'm going to flatten it slightly using my fingers. I'm going to use a knife and cut the shapes out for the rays. Not too long. There we go. So I've cut the rays out. Now I'm going to use my cocktail stick to make some marks on the back of the sun. Bit of slip. And I'm going to attach them. If you want them even, it's a good idea to put them on opposites. Very go opposite sides. Sometimes it's nice to have them uneven. I'm going to have a shorter one here, I think. The longer one. There we go. So when we turn him over, he's got a nice flat surface. I quite like it when the ends are smoothed a bit. So I'm just using my fingers to smooth the edges. There's all the sun rays coming out. Sunshine after the showers. So you've got the sun, the rainbow, and some clouds. Now while you've been making the decoration, the pot should have firmed up a little bit, not be quite so floppy at the bottom. Now we're going to attach the rainbow. Again, we make some scores marks on it with the cocktail stick. We're going to do the same with all of these, on the back of them though, not the front. Now we're going to attach the rainbow to your pot. Think about where you want it. You don't want it too high, you don't want it too low. So sort of in the middle, make some marks. Look, I've scored it on here already. Put some slip on it. And then gently attach it. Try and keep the bottom bits of the rainbow even. There we are. Keep it nice and curved. There we go. We'll be doing the same with the cloud and the sunshines. So with the sunshine and the cloud here. Now here we have it, the rainbow with sunshine and the cloud. I'm just going to leave this to dry a little bit more underneath, upside down, because it's getting a bit floppity at the bottom. Back into my mug. If you didn't want to do a rainbow or some clouds, this is when you could have used your cutters, maybe some lovely stars. If you wanted an Easter one, I've got little Easter cutters, whatever cutters you've got, and you could use those to decorate the surface either. So it's dried off a bit now. You mustn't let it dry too much or it'll be tricky to get the bottle out. And I'm going to try and take the bottle out now with the newspaper. There we go. A bit of paper at the bottom as well. Take that out. So we've got the basic shape now. We have to smooth off the edges. And the other thing we need to do is we need to make a hole in the bottom. Otherwise, when you water your seed, your little seedling might get rotten off if the water doesn't flow away. So I'm using a pencil. Push it in. You must be careful not to let the pot be too dry, or when you do this, all of it will crack. So you've got to make sure it's still a little bit damp. So there we are. There's a hole at the bottom to let the water drain away. Also, if you use the sponge and just tidy off the edges, smooth them round, because they'll have been stuck against the newspaper and the bottle, making it a little bit rough. There we are. And then that will be ready to go in the kiln.